Israel is surrounded by serious threats, but we should stop pretending they are equal. Iran is the most serious external threat Israel faces. Yet one danger connects them all. Israel has enormous military power, but no coherent national strategy for turning that power into lasting security. That is where the responsibility of the present government must be examined. Iran must remain at the top of Israel's strategic agenda. Tehran has been badly hurt by war, but military damage should never be confused with strategic defeat. Iran can still destabilize the region, threaten Israel directly and through proxies, and use the Strait of Hormuz as an instrument of international pressure. Above all, the nuclear question remains. Israel cannot accept a nuclear-armed Iran, but saying this repeatedly is not a strategy. The government must define the objective. Permanent denial of an Iranian weapon? A verifiable diplomatic arrangement? Continuous military prevention? A regional security architecture with the Gulf states and America? These alternatives are profoundly different. A country cannot conduct an open-ended war without knowing what outcome would allow it to declare its objective achieved. Hamas must never again be allowed to build the military machine that produced October 7. That should be beyond dispute. But after years of fighting, Israel still faces the question it should have confronted from the beginning. What replaces Hamas? Netanyahu may be right to distrust promises of symbolic disarmament, but rejecting an inadequate plan does not eliminate Israel's responsibility to produce a better one. Permanent military control is not a political strategy. Destroying Hamas infrastructure without building a post-Hamas order condemns Israel to fight variations of the same war indefinitely. That is extraordinarily difficult, but governments exist to solve difficult problems. The same problem exists in the north. Hezbollah has been severely damaged, but it remains armed and refuses to disarm. Israel should pursue international verification aggressively and verify everything, but the objective cannot simply be another period of quiet. The lesson of October 7 must be that quiet is not security when the enemy is using the quiet to prepare the next war. No serious Israeli leader should minimize the American alliance. But Israel is discovering the limits of relying on one president. Trump wants wars concluded. He wants deals. Israel's security timetable will not always match his political timetable. That does not mean America has abandoned Israel. It means Israel must stop confusing friendship with identical interests. The United States should be Israel's strongest ally. It cannot be Israel's substitute for strategy. The IDF has fought across multiple fronts for years, and the burden on soldiers and their families has been enormous. Yet the political system keeps fighting over exemptions for ultra-Orthodox men, while manpower needs remain acute. This is no longer a religious argument. It is national security. A country at war cannot permanently ask one part of society to fight and sacrifice, while another, growing sector, is politically protected from sharing the burden. The economy tells the same story. Debt has climbed, defense spending has doubled. Israel can afford to defend itself, but permanent war has a price. And then there is October 7. Who is responsible? The IDF failed and said so. The Shin Bet admitted serious failures. Those institutions must be examined without mercy. But political responsibility does not disappear because generals made catastrophic mistakes. October 7 happened while Benjamin Netanyahu was Prime Minister. For years, Israel assumed Hamas could be contained. Qatari money entered Gaza with Israeli approval. the entire conception collapsed on October 7. Yet almost 3 years later, there is still no independent state commission of inquiry, and the government says there will not be one before the election. That is unacceptable. Accountability is not revenge, it is how serious countries learn. A Prime Minister deserves credit for successes under his leadership. He must also accept examination of failures under it. One cannot have the first without the second. Meanwhile, anti-Semitism is returning worldwide, with an intensity many believed belonged to history. That makes a strong Israel more necessary than ever. But anti-Semitism abroad cannot become an excuse for bad government at home. Israel votes on October 27. The election should not be reduced to one question: Netanyahu, yes or no. That would be far too small. Israel should demand from every candidate a strategic doctrine. How will Iran be prevented from becoming a nuclear power? What replaces Hamas in Gaza? How will October 7 be investigated honestly enough that the assumptions which produced it are never repeated? These are not left-wing questions. They are not right-wing questions. They are questions of national survival. Too often, Israel has moved from one emergency to the next, responding, striking, deterring, escalating, then beginning the cycle again. Military superiority without political strategy eventually becomes strategic exhaustion. Israel needs a government capable of thinking 10 years ahead, a government capable of saying what victory means before beginning the next war, a government willing to investigate its own failures. That is the strategic choice Israel faces on October 27.